Okay, now the next one would be the example 12 on the page of 56. So this question they give you, given that you are given cosine A equivalent to 4 over 5, where your angle A falls between 0 and pi over by 2. Okay, so you have to know which quadrant does it fall. Okay, second one, and then they give you information, sine B equivalent to 5 over by 13, where the angle B is between pi over by 2 until pi. And they ask you to find the exact value for the following expression. So the first one, they ask you to find sine A. Now, for this kind of question, first thing first, you have to draw the triangle so that you can know the side that you are given over here and you can find the missing side. Right? For example, cosine, sine, this one is all related to the soh kah tua. I hope that you still remember back in school and also maths 1 where you can find it from soh kah tua. So if you draw your triangle, for example, cosine A, which is given 4 over by 5, and the angle A falls between 0 to pi over by 2, which means it falls on quadrant 1. So draw your quadrant 1 over here. So this would be your axis, and this is going to be your triangle. Okay, now the angle A is inside here. This is angle A. Because you are given cosine A over by 4 over by 5, which is kah, which is you can know the side of the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So over here is a adjacent over by hypotenuse. So your adjacent side is 4, your hypotenuse is 5. Can you know the missing side, which is the opposite over here? So what you do is that just use the theorem Pythagoras, which tell you that basically the opposite side, you can use the theorem Pythagoras, which tell you that if you have opposite square plus by adjacent square equivalent to hypotenuse square. So rearrange a bit, you want the opposite, will give you square root of, so 5 square minus by 4 square, which you use your calculator or you can mental sum, you calculate, you will get your opposite side equivalent to 3. The length is 3. Okay? Then, draw the second triangle, which is the sine B. 5 over by 5 over by 13. So, sine B, okay, the angle B falls between pi over by 2 and pi, which tells us that this one falls on quadrant 2. So draw your draw your triangle on quadrant 2. Then this is gonna be your B. So what is your side that you can know? The side that you can know is, because it's soh, which is opposite, and hypotenuse. So this is the opposite, this is the hypotenuse. So opposite 5, hypotenuse is 13. How can you find the adjacent? Again, using the theorem Pythagoras. So adjacent over here would be 13 square minus by 5 square, square root everything, which is gonna give you equivalent to 12. Now, the question asking you for sine A. Now, where is your angle A? Angle A is on this triangle. Okay, jangan tersalah tengok. So angle A is on this triangle. For sine, use the soh kah tua. Alright, this one, it will be the opposite of a hypotenuse. Since the opposite, you already find the length, which is 3, and the hypotenuse known is 5. So basically, the answer is just going to be 3 over by 5. Nothing more, as simple as that. Okay, now let's look at B. The question B, they ask you for sine A minus by B. Now this, you have to use the formula of subtraction. What is the formula? The formula says that if you have sine A minus by B, it will be equivalent to sine A cosine B minus by cosine A sine B. So what you have to do is you have to just simply substitute the exact value. Where can you get the exact value, this sine A and cosine B? You can get it from your triangle. Okay, this is basically back to Maths 1. So what are they? So your sine A, look at your triangle with the angle A, which is we know already, which is 3 over by 5. Substitute, so you got 3 over by 5. Okay, cosine B. Cosine B, which triangle that you have to look at? The triangle of the pink color over here. Alright, with the angle B. Now, just, you have to be careful on this part because cosine, the angle B falls on quadrant 2. Since it is on the quadrant 2, your cosine will have a negative exact value. Okay, so over here, be careful. So this one, you're going to have negative. Okay, remember the add sugar to coffee, which tells us where there's a positive value of your trigo function. Okay, so because quadrant 2, cosine will be a negative. Then cosine, just look at the length, will be kah. So adjacent over hypotenuse. So your adjacent here is 12, hypotenuse is 13. Simply substitute. So this one would be 12 over by 13. But the most important part is negative you have to put. Alright? Then proceed. You're going to have cosine A. Cosine A given already 4 over by 5. Sine B also known already will be 5 over by 13. Now simplify your answer. Nothing more. Once you got this, you just simplify. Use your calculator or you can just mental sum. You will get your answer as such. Negative 56 over by 65. Okay, as simple as that. Alright, now let's look at the part C. It asks for cosine A plus by B. So first thing, apply the formula. So you will have this one would be cosine A multiplied by cosine B minus by sine A multiplied by sine B. Okay, now substitute the value. So cosine A, this is a triangle for angle A. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So 4 over by 5. So 4 over by 5. Cosine B, the angle B over here. So adjacent is 12, hypotenuse is 13. Remember that this one falls on quadrant 2. Because it is falls on quadrant 2, the cosine will be negative angle, negative exact value. So negative, adjacent 12, hypotenuse is 13. Okay, and then minus by sine A, quadrant 1, everything will be positive. So opposite over hypotenuse, your opposite is 3, so 3 over by 5. Multiply by your sine B. Sine B, because it falls on quadrant 2, sine is positive, add sugar to coffee. So this one will give you, opposite is 5, your hypotenuse is 13. And then nothing more, simplify your answer. And you will have the answer of negative 63 over by 65. Alright. Okay, now let's look at the last one, part D, where you have tangent A minus by B. Again, do not memorize the formula, just write it from your formula list. You're going to have tangent A minus by tangent B over everything with 1 plus by tangent A multiply by tangent B. Okay, now substitute your exact value. For tangent A, let's look at the triangle with the angle A. So tangent is 2 because this quadrant 1, your add sugar to coffee is all positive. So tangent would be positive, which is give you 2 would be opposite over adjacent. It will be 3 over by 4. So 3 over by 4. Minus by, now tangent B, the triangle with the angle B, because it falls on the quadrant 2, tangent for add sugar to coffee, tangent will be a negative, only sign that it's positive. So careful on that. So this one is quadrant 2. So make sure that your tangent is a negative. Okay? So again, opposite over adjacent. So your opposite is 5, your adjacent is 12. So it will become 5 negative 5 over by 12. And then over everything with 1 plus by tangent A known already just now, 3 over by 4. Tangent B is negative 5 over by 12. Okay? Then simplify, nothing more. So calculate, you will have your answer as such, 56 over by 33. Your final answer. Alright, so to recap, make sure you draw your triangle, make sure you know your missing side, and then make sure you know your add sugar to coffee. Okay.